Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dairy Raid. And finally, the weather is slightly better. The lawn care noise is slightly less. And we can actually get out here and do a morning walk and talk while we are walking and talking. And so that's what we're going to be able to do. And with spring ball rapidly approaching, I figure now is as good a time as any to wrap up the off season and start talking about spring ball. So we've got a couple topics coming from you guys that help us wrap up the off season, and we can use this as a springboard towards spring ball. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about here. So let's get into it. All right, so for the first question we got here is a pretty simple one. Why would Coach Grimes leave Kansas after only one season? Well, there is both a positive spin and a negative spin that we can put on why he left Kansas, and we don't know without asking him. But let's speculate. So let's start with the negative side, which, as Badger fans, we love being negative, right? And, well, the easy thing is Kansas's offense did not perform to the same level it did in 2023 with Andy Kotelnicki as their offensive coordinator. And a lot, if not all, of the performance issues with the offense were laid solely at the feet of Jeff Grimes. And when you look at Kotelnicki's offensive philosophy and Grimes' offensive philosophy, I think there was a slight mismatch of hardware and software. And more with Coach Grimes coming in and running too much Kansas and not enough Grimes. The offense didn't look much different than it did the year before. And I don't know if it, Coach has said that he wants to be a collaborative coach. He wants to, use the staff around him to build the offense. And that's a great thing. But perhaps there was a too wide of a net cast in terms of building the Kansas offensive system. And when you combine that with subpar QB play, it's a recipe for mediocrity. Now, that being said, Kansas's offense scored points and kept them in games that they probably shouldn't be because their defense was pretty terrible last year. And, Grimes was basically asked to score 35 points to win a lot of games. And scoring that many points should be a luxury, not a necessity. On a consistent basis anyways. So I think he was the blame for a lot of issues that they had at Kansas last year. And when the opportunity presented itself to come to Wisconsin, it warranted a serious investigation about would this potentially be a better job. And we've eventually found out the connection that somebody in Wisconsin's personnel department had a previous relationship with him at Baylor. And that's why he was suggested for the Badgers. But so let's look at it from his point of view, though. Whether Kansas fans are going to be upset with me when I say this, but it's true. In terms of a football program, Wisconsin is a step up. Wisconsin has been a perennial bowl team in a big-time conference for a very long time. And Kansas has had its ups and downs and has had good teams in there. And Lance Leipold is building a pretty good program down there right now. But Kansas is a basketball school. And I think if Coach Grimes wants to see his career grow beyond being a run game coordinator / offensive coordinator / offensive line coach, it's time for something new. And he hasn't coached in the Big Ten before. And his brand of football is, dare I say, more in line with what Badger fans at least traditionally feel is Big Ten football. So when the opportunity came, and when you're leaving a situation where the fans didn't like you anyways, it's a win-win. He could easily become a folk hero at Wisconsin if he continues to use the right buzzwords in his press conferences, and if they tweak a couple letters on position names on the roster, and if they run the ball a little bit more, people in Wisconsin are going to be thinking Phil Longo who, and singing his praises. He's never going to get that at Kansas. So to me, it makes sense. And if I had that kind of opportunity, I'd be hard pressed to pass it up. All right. And the next question here, and again, as always, I don't have it written down in front of me, is, and we're going to avoid going on the big road. It's loud. Question is, hypothetically assuming that we have another bad season, another regressive season, where can we assign the blame? And that is an interesting question, because it would not be a single person system, anything like that. Every part of the program would be a part of the continued downfall. Number one, let's look outside of the football team. The schedule, the changing climate that is the Big Ten in college football. Wisconsin was woefully ill-prepared for those changes. And right now, the Badgers are 2 steps behind the rest of the quote-unquote power teams in the Big Ten, at least the ones who were power Big Ten teams previous to all of the Pac-12 teams coming in. And they are playing catch-up. And it seems like every time they take a step forward, we're ending up taking a step back. And then when you combine that with the fact that we don't get to play against bad Illinois and bad Indiana and bad Purdue and bad Minnesota and bad Northwestern every other year, because we could only beat them when we played them at Camp Randall back in the day, it is a lose-lose situation. The players are not prepared for the new Big Ten. And I think that's something Coach Fickell has realized. If you listen to his comments that he's made in a couple of interviews lately, I think, honestly, that he assumed that what he did at Cincinnati could be done at Wisconsin because Wisconsin had better players and had access to better players. And I think what he's realizing, at least with the upperclassmen, is that his upperclassmen at Cincinnati are better than the upperclassmen we had here for the most part. And it came down to the players were asked to do a lot and were unable to answer the call. And finally, I think the majority of the purge is gone. The players who are causing issues in the locker room are gone. A lot of them are Illinois now. And this is going to be a make or break type of year in terms of the roster, because now 75% of the roster are going to be Fickell guys. is really how windy it's starting to get. So hopefully I can clean this up in the editing. So that is a big thing. Players who are still here have got to step up. Some of these guys, the returning upperclassmen, are going to be third-year starters in certain cases, and they have to be looked at as the rocks of the roster instead of players we have to work around. I mean, we've had that the last couple of years where upperclassmen have been the worst players in the roster in certain positions, but because they had the most experience, you're not just going to throw a kid at the Wolves because that destroys progression. So you got to play the upperclassmen. Now, there aren't very many upperclassmen left. And the ones who are here are pretty solid. We've seen them grow. Willie Moman, for example, was a player I dogged like crazy in 2023. We saw some improvement in 2024, and I think it's going to continue in 2025. You even see some clips of him working in practice where you can see that his footwork has gotten incredibly better. So that's the players. And getting back to the coaches, we can blame them. Like I said, I think Luke Fickell, I don't think he took the Wisconsin job lightly. I'm not saying that. I think he thought it was the right job of the ones that he had been offered in the previous years. Remember, he was offered USC and he was offered Notre Dame and he turned them down. And then he took the Wisconsin job eventually. And I think he thought he could take his Cincinnati ideals, the way he built the roster at Cincinnati, his coaching style, playbook, etc., and he could translate to Wisconsin because he could just take the Cincinnati ideals and add better players in a better market in terms of recruiting. And it hasn't quite worked that way. You know, big thing with him that I liked about his philosophy to growing a system, and I'm talking defense here, was, you know, he started with what he always said, he starts with what he knows, and then he looks to answer questions posed by the opposing defenses. Like, how do I stop the Ohio State offense? How do I stop the Ohio State power spread? How do I stop the USC air raid and the Oregon whatever? And I think what he's found out is he has to throw the questions out. And instead of asking the questions asking questions of what the defense is going to do against the offense, it's got to be the other way around. It's how are the offense is going to react to his defense. And that is something that I think you're seeing, you know, talking about with how the defensive system is being made up this year. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's going back to, he's like, I want to run what I think is going to put us in a position to be aggressive, to attack, and to put the pressure on the offense instead of the other way around. And it better work, because if it doesn't work this year, then, you know, Tressel's going to be a scapegoat. Probably some of the other defensive coaches are going to be a scapegoat. And for a defensive-minded head coach, he would probably either ask to be fired or resign. So I hope it doesn't get that far, but that's kind of my take. It is a collaborative, just like a victory is a collaborative effort, a defeat is a collaborative effort. Everyone's to blame, from the administration to the players to the coaches. All right, so to wrap up the off season, let's talk about some positives. And the question is, what do I think Luke Fickell has done well this off season? And I'll start with this. I think they've done a pretty good job putting out fires this off season, and they've toned down a lot of the social media presence. They've toned down the recruiting announcements. They still happen, but it's tempered the excitement. And I think that's necessary. One, because a lot of people in the sweater vest crowd are vocal in their disdain of the hype around the program. But then also, it's hard to have hype around a program that hasn't been successful in a few years. So bringing that level down a little bit, I think they did a good job at quelling the unrest that was caused by Max Steineker's departure to USC. I think the guy that they found to replace him, or they promoted from within to replace him, is a great choice, because Sudbury comes from an NFL background, and he is going to see the roster and roster management and salary cap management, I guess, from an NFL point of view, from a professional point of view. Max Steineker was a fantastic recruiter. He was a fantastic relationship builder. And, that was something that this program needed. But in the role of the general manager, in terms of not only X's and O's and roster, but finances, Sudbury is going to be a excellent choice. And continuing on that, I think Fickell has done a fantastic job rebuilding the coaching staff and adding quality assistant coaches that are going to put the senior staff, that being the coordinators, in a position to succeed by taking some pressure off of them in terms of recruiting, in terms of on the field, in practice, fundamental coaching. Of course, they're still going to do that, but I can't even imagine how exciting it would be to be an offensive coordinator and not have to coach a position. I've never done that. That would be exciting. And I think they've brought in a nice mix of veteran experienced coaches with coordinator experience that can be seen as, advisors to the coordinators and provide valuable input, but older coaches that can help mentor up the young coaches. I think, what we have here with the receivers, with Jordan Reed and with Blake Rowland. Jordan Reed is a young guy. He is pretty well respected for being as young as he is. He sounds like he's a pretty good recruiter. And Blake Rowland's been around the block a few times. And he has experience at multiple levels, both as a play caller and as a position coach at multiple positions. That's going to be a great working relationship, because you're going to get the best out of both coaches at the same time, instead of trying to get the best out of one coach doing both jobs. So that has been another positive thing that Coach Fickell has done this offseason. And then I think they have done a really good job in both the high school recruiting and the transfer portal in resetting the recruiting expectations, resetting the roster, and making it clear the direction that the program is going now in Fickell 2.0. And that's a very good sign. It's, sometimes when you get a situation where coaches have to hire a bunch of coaches, or they lose coordinators, stuff like that, at times it seems like a real, throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks kind of thing. But I can really see a progression. I can really see the direction that the offense is going, the direction that the defense is going, and the direction that the coaching staff is going. We're getting back to Wisconsin guys promoting from within. Okay, yes, they might not have UW as their alma mater, but Tough Borland is as a Wisconsin kid as you could get. He's a legacy. And he's grown from a GA to an analyst to now an on the field and recruiting role. That's how it should be, right? And so I think this offseason has proven that, at least from a preparation standpoint, Coach Fickell is ready to roll with the punches. We have to see what happens on the football field, obviously. And I could be eating my words here in 10 months about what the hell happened and who is going to be the next head coach. So that's that. All right. Looks like we're coming up on home again. So I think we're going to call it here. For those of you who have been watching and subscribing during my recent series of videos with the building an offensive system, thank you for doing that. I've been putting out a lot of videos lately and starting to see the subscriber number go up again, so I appreciate that. More to come with the series over the next couple weeks, but we're going to be getting into spring ball and talking about all of the speculation that comes with spring ball. And we'll start with a brief preview of the talking points of spring ball coming up soon. But until then, thank you, as always, for watching, and we'll see you then.